Jim Jordan couldn't believe the excuse.
Is that appropriate to tell your donors, this is the extremist of the month, this hateful, racist guy is really bad, send us money?
As I said, the donors have spoken. That is not unlawful.
During a House hearing centered on the SPLC scandal, the Democrat witness went out of her way to defend the organization, but Jim really wasn't having any of it. And he made sure to expose what the real controversy was about. And today, we're covering it all. So if you enjoy content that cuts through the noise, hit that subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Mr. O'Neill, they had an extremist file webpage, didn't they?
Yes.
And they would, on this webpage, they would pick out some crazy hate guy and they would, some bad guy, and he was like the extremist of the month. They'd highlight him and they would say, send us money to stop so-and-so. Is that right?
Exactly.
And F42 was one of the field sources, number 42, chair of some crazy hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center highlighted him on their webpage. He's bad, he's evil, send us money. Is that right?
Yes.
Did they tell their prospective donors they were paying this guy?
No.
They didn't tell him. Did they tell him they were paying him $140,000?
No, not to my knowledge.
So they said, let's stop the racists, even though we're paying him to be racist. That was their pitch. But they didn't tell him that, did they?
No, they did not.
Is that appropriate, Ms. Wiley?
I'm sorry, which part? Well, we have public reporting that over a dozen donors actually said that they spent the money as intended.
Field Source 42 got 140 grand from the Southern Poverty Law Center, was featured on their webpage as extremist of the year or month or whatever they call these bad guys, and they were paying him and they were gating money. Is that appropriate? Simple question.
And donors have supported it, and they keep trying to send more.
So in case you missed it, last month, the DOJ announced charges involving the Southern Poverty Law Center, alleging the civil rights nonprofit funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals who were associated with various violent extremist organizations. And if you start looking at the list of groups, it includes the KKK, Unite the Right, Aryan Nations, and the National Socialist Party of America. The indictment also referenced several confidential informants the SPLC allegedly relied on to identify extremists, and a New York Post analysis managed to identify two of these people. The first being Bradley Scott Jenkins, who called himself the leader of the True Klan, and the other, referred to as F30, is Paul Mullet, a leader in many extremist groups and was paid $70,000 between 2014 and 2016 while being featured on the SPLC's Extremist File webpage. Despite all of that, the Democrat witness seemed completely unbothered and continually doubled down on her position.
Is that technique appropriate? That's what I'm asking.
That is not unlawful to say that people have done.
I didn't ask if it was lawful or
Z.
unlawful. As you said earlier in your testimony, the court's going to determine that when they go to trial. What I'm asking you, is it appropriate?
As I said, the donors have spoken. And in fact, they're trying to send more money now, and their financial institutions refusing to send the money.
Is the Alliance Defending Freedom, is that a hate group?
I don't know. I don't do designations.
Well, they've argued 16 cases before the Supreme Court, won 16 cases before the Supreme Court. They stand for traditional values. Southern Poverty Law Center labeled them a hate group. Are they a hate group?
I don't know them, and I don't work on the designations.
Well, here's one thing.
I'm here to talk
let me ask you this. Is Jane's Revenge, is that a hate group? Because the ADF, they didn't firebomb anybody, but Jane's Revenge did. ADF is labeled a hate group. Jane's Revenge isn't. I want to know how you would label them.
I'm not here as a person who designates groups. I'm here to talk about the impact on civil rights.
Listen, if she's really as impartial as she claims, then why did she spend her entire opening statement defending the SPLC and describing it as one of the leading organizations standing in the way of efforts to roll back civil rights in this country? Does funneling money to extremists somehow advance that mission? The thing is, once you look at the organization's finances, the numbers are astronomical. According to ProPublica, the SPLC brought in $129 million in revenue in 2024, while its total assets were valued at roughly $822 million. On top of that, the CEO earned more than $500,000, while the rest of the C-suite and directors were pulling in some very handsome salaries themselves. Jim then took the questioning a step further by raising another issue. Were some of those informants effectively double dipping? Before we get to the answer for that, we have a quick message from today's sponsor. Recently, we covered Saga Metals, trading as SAGMF in the US and Saga in Canada. It's a company that we've followed closely on this channel, but we're revisiting this story sooner than expected because in a very short time, it looks like they've hit another home run. What they've accomplished in under 6 months has changed the scale of this company. Less than 48 hours ago, Saga announced a 100% drill success rate across all 57 drill holes, achieving it ahead of schedule. And that's only part of the story. They also secured $10 million through a financing round dedicated entirely to drilling, adding major capital to an already aggressive program. They also secured a strategic titanium acquisition right from under Rio Tinto, a mining giant worth over $100 billion in the same district as the world's largest titanium mine. On top of all that, the Wolverine project expanded their footprint even further in one of the most significant mineral corridors in the region. So why is this all happening so fast? Simple titanium and critical minerals are now central to national security. With Project Vault, executive orders, and billions of dollars in federal backing, Washington is pushing to secure domestic supply chains. Plus, a State Department ministerial is bringing together 55 foreign ministers focused directly on critical minerals. Saga is positioning itself directly where policy, capital, and defense demand are moving. And so far, they've over-delivered in the first half of 2026. So, if you want to learn more about this story, check out the link in the description. We're going to head back to the video.
Mr. O'Neill, you think any of these field sources were double dipping? I mean, during the Biden, Ray, Garland administration, the Justice Department paid a bunch of confidential human sources, a bunch of them. We know a bunch of them were at the Capitol on January 6th. 4 went in the Capitol. I'm just wondering, do you think it was out of the realm of possibility that the Justice Department was paying the same sources the SPLC was paying?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I have no information or knowledge that they were double dipping. I would say that Stephen J. Ross, who is author of The Secret War Against Hate, which is about the history of informants that Jewish groups had placed in some of these violent groups back, decades and decades before the SPLC ever existed. He said that neither the ADL nor the American Jewish Committee nor the Anti-Nazi League did anything like highlighting informants online as in extremist profiles while also funding them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just a few days ago, the SPLC fired back against both the allegations and the indictment, claiming they're the victims of a vindictive prosecution and that the DOJ is using its powers to prioritize the president's political imperative. The obvious goal is to get the case thrown out. But based on everything that's come out so far, even if they manage to get the suit tossed, it's hard to argue that they haven't already taken a major hit in the court of public opinion. And at the end of the day, you cannot build your brand around fighting extremism while sending money to people tied to extremist movements. Oh, and then featuring them on your website. There's also the political side of the story. And Jim made sure to bring that into the discussion as well. So take a look.
Mr. Perkins, in your opening statement, you talked about how it was just worse than the SPLC because how they've put themselves out there or become the standard of help from the government, I think, in becoming the source of the standard on evaluating and determining what groups are hate groups, what groups aren't. But it's bigger and broader. It has things. But I think the real thing here is how closely they worked with the government to carry out what they were trying to do. And the reason the Biden administration embraced them, I think, so fully was politics, simple politics. You agree?
Well, there are members of this committee that were endorsed by SPLC. They had a C4 was involved in elections. So they were not just an umpire. They were a player on the field as well. To your point about their engagement with government, it goes much further than the federal government and the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense, which their material was in briefing to the members of the military. But they also continue to have their Learning for Justice, which is about 500,000 educators across America, and bulletins to local law enforcement.
The bottom line is that this debate should not turn into a fight over civil rights or a defense of extremist groups. The focus should be on uncovering any backroom arrangements that may have taken place and holding the people involved accountable if wrongdoing is proven. It really is that simple. At some point, we have to stop letting organizations and activists profit from serious issues while fueling more division in the process. Simply put, if misconduct occurred, the public deserves answers, regardless of who is involved or which side benefits politically.